Question 1. What legal actions can a Texas homeowner take if their neighbor builds a structure that encroaches on their property? A. Request a reduction in property taxes. B. Seek a court injunction to remove the structure. C. Apply for a rezoning of their property. D. File a complaint with the Texas Real Estate Commission. Answer. B. Seek a court injunction to remove the structure. Explanation. In Texas, if a neighbor's structure encroaches on a homeowner's property, the homeowner can seek a court injunction for the removal of the encroaching structure. This legal action enforces property boundaries and addresses violations. Question 2. Explain the doctrine of prior appropriation and its relevance in Texas water rights. A. Water rights are determined by land ownership. B. Water rights are allocated based on historical use. C. Water rights are granted to the first user for beneficial purposes. D. All residents have equal rights to water resources. Answer. C. Water rights are granted to the first user for beneficial purposes. Explanation. The doctrine of prior appropriation, significant in Texas water law, grants water rights to the first individual or entity to use the water from a source for a beneficial purpose. This doctrine governs how water rights are allocated and used in the state. Question 3. In Texas, how does community property with right of survivorship differ from traditional community property? A. It applies only to properties acquired after marriage. B. It allows for property to pass directly to the surviving spouse. C. It divides property equally among children. D. It requires both spouses to be co-owners of the property. Answer. B. It allows for property to pass directly to the surviving spouse. Explanation. Community property with right of survivorship in Texas differs from traditional community property in that it allows the property to automatically pass to the surviving spouse upon the death of the other by passing probate. Question 4. Discuss the implications of a line theory state for mortgage borrowers in Texas. A. Borrowers retain full ownership until foreclosure. B. The property is owned by the lender until the mortgage is paid. C. Mortgages are not permitted under this theory. D. Borrowers must pay property taxes directly to the lender. Answer. A. Borrowers retain full ownership until foreclosure. Explanation. In a line theory state like Texas, mortgage borrowers retain full ownership of the property while the mortgage is in place. The lender's interest is protected by a line, and full ownership only passes to the lender upon foreclosure. Question 5. Scenario. A Texas property owner sells a parcel of land retaining the mineral rights. What are the implications for the new landowner? A. The new owner has full rights to both the land and its mineral resources. B. The original owner retains the right to extract minerals from the land. C. The new owner must pay royalties to the original owner for mineral extraction. D. Mineral rights are not severable from land ownership in Texas. Answer. B. The original owner retains the right to extract minerals from the land. Explanation. In Texas, if a property owner sells land but retains the mineral rights, the original owner maintains the right to access and extract minerals from that land. The new landowner does not have rights to the mineral resources. Question 6. What constitutes a breach of fiduciary duty by a real estate agent in Texas? A. Failing to provide all offers to the client. B. Charging a commission for services. C. Advertising property listings. D. Conducting open houses. Answer. A. Failing to provide all offers to the client. Explanation. In Texas, a real estate agent's breach of fiduciary duty can occur if they fail to provide all offers to their client. Agents have an obligation to act in the best interests of their clients, which includes transparently presenting all offers received for a property. Question 7. Describe the impact of eminent domain on property owners in Texas. A. It increases the property's market value. B. It allows property owners to avoid property taxes. C. It can result in the compulsory sale of property for public use. D. Property owners can demand any price for their property. Answer: C. It can result in the compulsory sale of property for public use. Explanation: eminent domain in Texas allows the government to compulsorily acquire private property for public use, such as for infrastructure projects, while providing fair compensation to the owners. This can significantly impact property owners who may be required to sell their property. Question 8. Explain the process of judicial foreclosure in Texas and how it differs from non-judicial foreclosure. A. Judicial foreclosure involves a court process, while non-judicial does not. B. Non-judicial foreclosure is faster and less expensive. C. Judicial foreclosure requires the borrower's consent. D. Non-judicial foreclosures are not legal in Texas. Answer: A. Judicial foreclosure involves a court process, while non-judicial does not. Explanation: judicial foreclosure in Texas involves a legal process through the courts and is used when no power of sale is present in the mortgage or deed of trust. Non-judicial foreclosure, which does not go through the court system, is more common and can be quicker and less costly. Question 9. Scenario: a Texas real estate investor wants to engage in a master lease agreement. What does this entail? A. Leasing the property directly from the government. B. Renting out individual units in a multi-tenant building. C. Leasing an entire property to sublease to others. D. A lease that overrides all other leases. Answer: C. Leasing an entire property to sublease to others. Explanation: in a master lease agreement in Texas, a real estate investor leases an entire property, such as an apartment building, and then subleases the individual units to tenants. This arrangement allows the investor to generate income without owning the property. Question 10. How does the Texas Fair Housing Act protect consumers, and what practices does it prohibit? A. Ensures affordable housing for all. B. Prohibits discrimination in housing based on protected characteristics. C. Regulates rent prices statewide. D. Requires all properties to meet safety standards. Answer: B. Prohibits discrimination in housing based on protected characteristics. Explanation: the Texas Fair Housing Act protects consumers from discrimination in housing-related activities based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. It ensures equal opportunity for all in housing choices and prohibits discriminatory practices. Question 11. Discuss the legal concept of homestead cap in Texas property tax law. A. A limit on the amount of land that can be designated as a homestead. B. A cap on the annual increase in property tax for homestead. C. A ceiling on the sale price of a homestead property. D. The maximum value for a property to qualify as a homestead. Answer: B. A cap on the annual increase in property tax for a homestead. Explanation: the homestead cap in Texas property tax law limits the amount by which the appraised value of a homestead for property tax purposes can increase in a given year, typically capped at 10% per year. This provides some protection against large property tax increases for homeowners. Question 12. Explain how transfer on death deeds function in Texas estate planning. A. They allow immediate transfer of property upon purchase. B. Enable property transfer to a designated beneficiary upon the owner's death. C. Transfer property to the state upon an owner's death. D. Automatically divide property among heirs. Answer: B. Enable property transfer to a designated beneficiary upon the owner's death. Explanation: Transfer on death deeds in Texas estate planning allow property owners to name a beneficiary who will receive the property upon the owner's death, without the need for probate. This simplifies the transfer process and ensures the property passes directly to the chosen beneficiary. Question 13. Scenario. A Texas homeowners association imposes a special assessment. What rights do homeowners have in this situation? A. The right to veto the assessment. B. The right to be informed and vote on the assessment. C. Automatic exemption from the assessment. D. The right to appeal the assessment in court. Answer. B. The right to be informed and vote on the assessment. Explanation. In Texas, homeowners in an association have the right to be informed about and vote on special assessments, which are additional fees for specific projects or repairs. The association's governing documents usually outline the process for imposing and approving these assessments. Question 14. What are the legal requirements for disclosure of agency in Texas real estate transactions? A. Disclosure is optional and at the agent's discretion. B. Mandatory disclosure of the agency relationship at the first substantive dialogue. C. Disclosure only required at closing. D. Agents are not required to disclose their agency status. Answer. B. Mandatory disclosure of the agency relationship at the first substantive dialogue. Explanation. Texas law requires real estate agents to disclose their agency relationship, whether they represent the buyer, seller, or both, at the first substantive dialogue with a consumer. This ensures transparency and helps consumers understand the agent's role and whom they represent. Question 15. Discuss the significance of encumbrances in Texas property transactions. A. Encumbrances determine property tax rates. B. They are incentives for first-time homebuyers. C. Encumbrances are claims or liens that affect property rights or value. D. They refer to physical defects on the property. Answer. C. Encumbrances are claims or liens that affect property rights or value. Explanation. In Texas property transactions, encumbrances refer to claims, liens, or legal liabilities on a property that may affect the property's rights, value, or use. These can include mortgages, easements, or restrictions, and are crucial for buyers to understand before purchasing a property. Question 16. In Texas, what are the legal repercussions of practicing real estate without a license? A. A warning for the first offense. B. Requirement to complete educational courses. C. Potential criminal charges and fines. D. Mandatory community service. Answer. C. Potential criminal charges and fines. Explanation. Practicing real estate without a license in Texas is illegal and can lead to serious legal repercussions, including criminal charges and fines. The law requires individuals to be licensed to legally conduct real estate transactions in the state. Question 17. Scenario. A Texas landlord faces a constructive eviction claim. What defenses are available? A. Proving the property remains habitable. B. Transferring property ownership. C. Increasing the rent to cover repair costs. D. Terminating the tenant's lease immediately. Answer. A. Proving the property remains habitable. Explanation. In a constructive eviction claim in Texas, a landlord can defend themselves by proving that the property remains habitable and that they have not neglected their duties to maintain the property, thereby refuting the tenant's claim of uninhabitable conditions. Question 18. How does Texas law address the issue of dual tracking in mortgage servicing? A. It's encouraged to speed up the foreclosure process. B. Prohibited, preventing simultaneous foreclosure and loan modification processes. C. Only allowed with the borrower's consent. D. Dual tracking is mandatory for all mortgages. Answer. B. Prohibited, preventing simultaneous foreclosure and loan modification processes. Explanation. Texas law prohibits dual tracking in mortgage servicing, which means that mortgage servicers cannot simultaneously proceed with foreclosure while a loan modification application is pending. This law aims to give homeowners a fair chance to modify their loans and avoid foreclosure. Question 19. What are deceptive trade practices in Texas real estate, and what remedies are available to consumers? A. Standard negotiation tactics with no legal consequences. B. Illegal practices like false advertising, with remedies including financial compensation. C. Practices that are discouraged but not actionable. D. Only applicable to commercial real estate transactions. Answer. B. Illegal practices like false advertising, with remedies including financial compensation. Explanation. Deceptive trade practices in Texas real estate include illegal activities such as false advertising or misrepresentation. Consumers affected by such practices can seek remedies, including financial compensation, under the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act, DTPA. Question 20. Scenario. A Texas property is subject to a restrictive covenant. How might this affect future development plans? A. Restrictive covenants have no impact on development. B. May limit types or extents of development on the property. C. Automatically voids any development plans. D. Requires all development to be eco-friendly. Answer. B. May limit types or extents of development on the property. Explanation. A restrictive covenant on a Texas property can significantly impact future development plans, as it may impose specific limitations or conditions on how the property can be used, developed, or modified. These covenants are legally enforceable and must be adhered to by property owners. Question 21. What are the legal considerations for a Texas real estate agent engaging in advertising and marketing, especially regarding truth in advertising laws? A. Agents are free to use any claims in advertising. B. Mandatory to include all property flaws in advertisements. C. Advertisements must be honest and not misleading. D. Agents can only advertise in designated areas. Answer. C. Advertisements must be honest and not misleading. Explanation. Texas real estate agents must adhere to truth in advertising laws, which require that their marketing and advertising efforts be honest, accurate, and not misleading. Misrepresentation or false claims in advertisements can lead to legal consequences and damage the agent's credibility. Question 22. Scenario. A Texas property is sold with an undisclosed easement that significantly affects its use. What recourse does the new owner have? A. Accept the easement as it is part of the property. B. Request a zoning change to nullify the easement. C. Seek legal remedies for nondisclosure. D. Automatically reverse the sale. Answer. C. Seek legal remedies for nondisclosure. Explanation. In Texas, if a property is sold with an undisclosed easement that significantly affects its use, the new owner may seek legal remedies for the nondisclosure. This could include seeking damages or, in some cases, rescission of the sale if the nondisclosure constitutes fraudulent misrepresentation. Question 23. Explain the concept of estoppel in the context of Texas real estate. A. A legal halt to all property transactions. B. Preventing a party from contradicting previous statements or actions. C. The process of stopping property foreclosure. D. Pausing a real estate license. Answer. B. Preventing a party from contradicting previous statements or actions. Explanation. In Texas real estate, estoppel refers to a legal principle that prevents an individual or entity from contradicting their previous statements or actions if another party has relied on them. It's often used in lease or contract disputes to uphold initial agreements or claims. Question 24. In Texas, how does the stigmatized property law affect real estate transactions? A. Requires disclosure of all property stigmas. B. Sellers are not required to disclose certain stigmas. C. Only applies to properties with criminal history. D. Stigmatized properties are exempt from inspections. Answer. B. Sellers are not required to disclose certain stigmas. Explanation. The stigmatized property law in Texas allows sellers not to disclose certain stigmas associated with a property, such as a death that occurred on the property or a belief that the property is haunted. These stigmas are not considered material defects that must be disclosed. Question 25. What role does the Texas Real Estate Commission play in resolving disputes between agents and clients? A. Acts as a mediator in all real estate disputes. B. Provides legal representation to clients. C. Investigates and resolves complaints against licensees. D. Determines property prices in disputes. Answer. C. Investigates and resolves complaints against licensees. Explanation. The Texas Real Estate Commission, TRC, plays a critical role in investigating and resolving complaints against real estate licensees. If clients have disputes with their agents, they can file a complaint with TRDC, which will investigate the issue and take appropriate action if necessary. Question 26. Scenario. In Texas, a buyer discovers that their new property is located in a floodplain, a fact not disclosed by the seller. What are the buyer's legal options? A. Requesting a reduction in property taxes. B. Seeking rescission of the sale or damages. C. Applying for government compensation. D. There are no legal options available. Answer. B. Seeking rescission of the sale or damages. Explanation. In Texas, if a buyer discovers post-purchase that their property is in a floodplain and this was not disclosed by the seller, they may have legal options such as seeking rescission of the sale, cancellation, or suing for damages due to non-disclosure. Question 27. Discuss the impact of zoning laws on property development and how variances can be obtained in Texas. A. Zoning laws have no impact on property development. B. Zoning laws dictate property use and variances allow exceptions to these rules. C. Variances are automatically granted for residential properties. D. Zoning laws only apply to commercial properties. Answer. B. Zoning laws dictate property use and variances allow exceptions to these rules. Explanation. Zoning laws in Texas significantly impact property development by defining how different areas can be used, residential, commercial, etc. Property owners can apply for variances, which are exceptions to zoning laws if they meet certain criteria and justify the need for deviation. Question 28. Explain the significance of marketable title in Texas real estate sales. A. It guarantees the highest market price for a property. B. Indicates a title free from significant defects or disputes. C. Refers to a title with no mortgages attached. D. Means the property can be marketed internationally. Answer. B. Indicates a title free from significant defects or disputes. Explanation. Marketable title in Texas real estate sales signifies that a property's title is clear of significant legal issues, defects, or disputes that could hinder or challenge the transfer of ownership. It's an assurance to the buyer that they can acquire the property without legal complications. Question 29. Scenario. A Texas homeowner wants to challenge the boundaries established by a recent land survey. What legal steps are involved in this process? A. Accepting the surveyor's decision without recourse. B. Conducting a new survey and potentially filing a lawsuit. C. Requesting a government review of the survey. D. Automatically dividing the disputed land. Answer. B. Conducting a new survey and potentially filing a lawsuit. Explanation. If a Texas homeowner disagrees with the boundaries established by a land survey, they can conduct a new independent survey. If the dispute persists, they may need to file a lawsuit to resolve the boundary issue, often involving a court's decision based on the evidence presented. Question 30. How does Texas law regulate the use of earnest money in real estate transactions? A. There are no regulations. It's based on mutual agreement. B. Earnest money must equal 10% of the property price. C. It must be held in a trust account and is subject to contract terms. D. Earnest money is prohibited in Texas real estate transactions. Answer: C. It must be held in a trust account and is subject to contract terms. Explanation: in Texas, earnest money in real estate transactions must be held in a trust or escrow account and is governed by the terms of the purchase contract. This ensures that the earnest money is managed responsibly and in accordance with the agreed-upon conditions. Question 31. Discuss the legal implications of property flipping in Texas and the relevant regulations. A. Flipping properties is illegal in Texas. B. Requires a special license from the Texas Real Estate Commission. C. Subject to specific regulations to prevent fraud and ensure transparency. D. No regulations. It's treated like any other property sale. Answer: C. Subject to specific regulations to prevent fraud and ensure transparency. Explanation: in Texas, property flipping, buying and quickly reselling properties for profit, is legal but subject to regulations aimed at preventing fraudulent activities. These include ensuring accurate property appraisals and disclosures to avoid artificially inflating property values. Question 32. In Texas, what are the specific requirements and limitations for advertising real estate services? A. Unlimited advertising with no specific requirements. B. Must include the agent's license number and brokerage information. C. Only word-of-mouth advertising is allowed. D. Advertising is restricted to certain geographical areas. Answer: B. Must include the agent's license number and brokerage information. Explanation: Texas law requires real estate advertisements to include specific information, such as the agent's license number and the name of the brokerage firm they are affiliated with. This ensures transparency and helps consumers verify the agent's credentials and affiliation. Question 33. Scenario: a tenant in Texas faces eviction despite having a valid lease agreement. What are their rights and potential defenses? A. The tenant has no rights if the landlord wants to evict. B. They can remain on the property until the lease expires, regardless of the eviction notice. C. Challenge the eviction in court, citing the lease agreement. D. Mandatory mediation with the landlord. Answer: C. Challenge the eviction in court, citing the lease agreement. Explanation: in Texas, if a tenant faces eviction despite having a valid lease agreement, they have the right to challenge the eviction in court. The lease agreement is a legal contract, and its terms can be used as a defense to contest the eviction. Question 34. How do Texas laws address the issue of undisclosed defects in a property after the sale? A. Sellers are not responsible for any defects after the sale. B. Buyers can sue for damages if defects were knowingly undisclosed. C. All defects are assumed to be disclosed at closing. D. Mandatory arbitration is required to resolve such issues. Answer: B. Buyers can sue for damages if defects were knowingly undisclosed. Explanation: Texas laws allow buyers to take legal action against sellers if significant defects in the property were knowingly undisclosed before the sale. Sellers have an obligation to disclose known material defects, and failure to do so can result in legal liability. Question 35. What constitutes fraudulent misrepresentation in Texas real estate, and what are the consequences? A. Accidentally providing incorrect information about a property. B. Intentionally providing false information to influence a transaction. C. Failure to provide property disclosures. D. Changing the property price during negotiations. Answer: B. Intentionally providing false information to influence a transaction. Explanation. Fraudulent misrepresentation in Texas real estate involves intentionally providing false information or concealing facts to influence a transaction. The consequences can include legal action for damages, rescission of the sale, and potential criminal charges. Question 36. Scenario. A Texas real estate agent is accused of violating antitrust laws. What practices are prohibited under these laws? A. Working with multiple brokerage firms. B. Price fixing, boycotting competitors, and allocating markets. C. Advertising properties on multiple platforms. D. Representing both buyers and sellers in the same transaction. Answer. B. Price fixing, boycotting competitors, and allocating markets. Explanation. Antitrust laws in Texas prohibit practices such as price fixing, agreeing with competitors to set prices, boycotting competitors, and allocating markets or customers. These practices restrict competition and can lead to legal consequences for real estate agents. Question 37. Explain the responsibilities and limitations of a power of attorney in real estate transactions in Texas. A. Unlimited power to make any decision on behalf of the principal. B. Can only be used for residential property transactions. C. Authority to act on behalf of the principal within specified limits. D. Power of attorney is not recognized in Texas real estate transactions. Answer. C. Authority to act on behalf of the principal within specified limits. Explanation. In Texas, a power of attorney in real estate transactions grants an individual the authority to act on behalf of the principal, but only within the limits specified in the power of attorney document. This can include buying, selling, or managing property as directed by the principal. Question 38. How does the Texas homestead exemption affect property taxes, and what are the qualification criteria? A. It increases the property tax rate. B. Reduces property taxes. Homeowners must occupy the property as their primary residence. C. Available only to first-time homebuyers. D. Exempts properties from all taxes. Answer. B. Reduces property taxes. Homeowners must occupy the property as their primary residence. Explanation. The Texas homestead exemption provides a reduction in property taxes for homeowners who occupy the property as their primary residence. To qualify, homeowners must file an application with their local appraisal district. Question 39. Scenario. A Texas commercial property lease agreement includes a subordination clause. What does this mean for the tenant? A. The tenant has priority over the landlord in legal disputes. B. The lease is subordinate to any existing or future financing on the property. C. The tenant can sublease the property without consent. D. The lease is considered void if the property is sold. Answer. B. The lease is subordinate to any existing or future financing on the property. Explanation. A subordination clause in a Texas commercial property lease means that the tenant's leasehold interest is subordinate to any existing or future financing, like a mortgage, on the property. This can affect the tenant's rights if the property is foreclosed. Question 40. In Texas, what are the legal consequences for a landlord who illegally retains a tenant's security deposit? A. The landlord may be required to pay 3 times the deposit amount. B. No consequences. Landlords have discretion over deposits. C. Mandatory mediation is required to resolve the issue. D. The landlord must provide free rent for a month. Answer. A. The landlord may be required to pay 3 times the deposit amount. Explanation. In Texas, if a landlord illegally retains a tenant's security deposit without valid reasons, they can face legal consequences. The tenant may sue the landlord and potentially recover up to 3 times the amount of the deposit plus attorney's fees. Question 41. How does the right to cure clause in Texas property contracts affect the resolution of disputes over property defects? A. Gives sellers an opportunity to rectify defects before a buyer can withdraw. B. Nullifies the contract if defects are present. C. Automatically transfers defect liability to buyers. D. Requires a third-party inspection for any defects. Answer: A. Gives sellers an opportunity to rectify defects before a buyer can withdraw. Explanation: in Texas, the right to cure clause in property contracts allows sellers the opportunity to rectify or repair defects within a specified time frame before the buyer can withdraw from the contract or seek other remedies. This clause aims to resolve disputes amicably and efficiently. Question 42. Scenario: a property in Texas is under a conservation easement. What are the implications for a potential developer? A. The property cannot be developed in any way. B. Development is allowed but with strict environmental guidelines. C. The easement has no impact on development plans. D. Only residential development is permitted. Answer: B. Development is allowed but with strict environmental guidelines. Explanation: when a property in Texas is under a conservation easement, it means that development is possible but must adhere to specific environmental guidelines and restrictions. The easement aims to protect certain natural features while allowing for responsible development. Question 43. In Texas, what are the legal requirements and limitations for creating a condominium regime? A. No specific legal requirements exist for condominiums. B. Must comply with local zoning laws and obtain approval from the Texas Real Estate Commission. C. Requires unanimous consent from all potential residents. D. Limited to certain cities in Texas. Answer: B. Must comply with local zoning laws and obtain approval from the Texas Real Estate Commission. Explanation: establishing a condominium regime in Texas involves legal requirements, including compliance with local zoning laws and obtaining necessary approvals, such as from the Texas Real Estate Commission. These regulations ensure proper management and legality of the condominium development. Question 44. Explain the concept of net listing in Texas real estate and discuss its legality and ethical considerations. A. An agreement where the agent keeps all proceeds above a set price. B. A listing that only nets a certain percentage of the sale price. C. A legally prohibited listing agreement in Texas. D. A listing where net profits are shared equally between agent and seller. Answer: A. An agreement where the agent keeps all proceeds above a set price. Explanation: a net listing in Texas real estate is an agreement where the agent keeps any amount of the sale price that exceeds a predetermined figure set by the seller, while legal net listings pose ethical concerns due to the potential conflict of interest, as agents might prioritize higher selling prices for higher commissions. Question 45. What are the responsibilities of a Texas real estate broker regarding trust fund handling? A. Brokers have no specific responsibilities for trust funds. B. Must maintain separate accounts and accurate records for all trust funds. C. Trust funds can be commingled with the broker's personal funds. D. Brokers are required to invest trust funds in real estate. Answer: B. Must maintain separate accounts and accurate records for all trust funds. Explanation: in Texas, real estate brokers have a fiduciary responsibility to handle trust funds, such as earnest money, properly. This includes maintaining separate trust accounts and keeping accurate records for all funds entrusted to them, ensuring transparency and accountability. Question 46. Scenario: a buyer in Texas is interested in a property with a clouded title. What steps should they take to resolve this issue? A. Proceed with the purchase and ignore the title issue. B. Seek a title insurance policy that covers clouded titles. C. Resolve the title issues through a quiet title action or other legal means. D. Request the seller to lower the property price. Answer C. Resolve the title issues through a quiet title action or other legal means. Explanation. When a buyer in Texas encounters a property with a clouded title, unclear or disputed ownership, they should seek to resolve the title issues before proceeding. This can be done through legal actions such as a quiet title lawsuit, which can clarify and establish clear title ownership. Question 47. Discuss the implications of the Texas Residential Property Owners Protection Act for homeowners associations and their members. A. Imposes strict construction requirements on all residential properties. B. Provides guidelines and protections for HOA governance and homeowners' rights. C. Requires all homeowners to join an association. D. Limits the authority of HOAs to impose assessments. Answer. B. Provides guidelines and protections for HOA governance and homeowners' rights. Explanation. The Texas Residential Property Owners Protection Act sets forth guidelines and protections regarding the governance of homeowners associations, HOAs, and the rights of homeowners within these associations. It covers aspects like assessments, board elections, and homeowners' rights, ensuring fair and transparent HOA operations. Question 48. In Texas, what constitutes brokerage fraud and what are the potential penalties? A. Legally defined as negotiating contracts without a license. B. Engaging in deceptive or fraudulent practices, potentially leading to legal action and license revocation. C. Using online platforms for property listings. D. Charging commission above the state-mandated rate. Answer. B. Engaging in deceptive or fraudulent practices, potentially leading to legal action and license revocation. Explanation. Brokerage fraud in Texas refers to brokers engaging in deceptive, misleading, or fraudulent practices in their real estate dealings. This can include misrepresentation, false advertising, or fraud. The penalties for such actions can be severe, including legal action, fines, and revocation of the broker's license. Question 49. Scenario. A Texas landlord is accused of retaliatory eviction. What defenses can the landlord present? A. The eviction was based on non-payment of rent or lease violations. B. The tenant's complaint was frivolous. C. The property is being sold. D. Renovations are needed on the property. Answer. A. The eviction was based on non-payment of rent or lease violations. Explanation. In Texas, if a landlord is accused of retaliatory eviction, evicting a tenant as a response to a complaint, a valid defense can be that the eviction was due to legitimate reasons, such as non-payment of rent or lease agreement violations, rather than as retaliation. Question 50. How does the Texas Safe Harbor Act affect the disclosure requirements for real estate agents regarding property defects? A. Agents are exempt from disclosing any defects. B. Agents must disclose all known defects, but are protected from liability for unknown defects. C. Only structural defects must be disclosed. D. Disclosure is required only for defects identified in a home inspection. Answer. B. Agents must disclose all known defects, but are protected from liability for unknown defects. Explanation. The Texas Safe Harbor Act requires real estate agents to disclose all known material defects in a property. However, agents are protected from liability for defects they were not aware of and therefore could not disclose. This act balances the need for disclosure with protection for agents.